Hey, how's it hanging, beautiful people? Of course, you know who I be, Good Doc, Dr. Mike TV. Back again, once again, with an interesting topic of conversation I just wanted to have and to hold with the audience today. Guys, first time to the channel, guys, make sure you get the likes up, make sure you subscribe, notify, do all of the things to become well-versed in the Good Doc's content. Listed in the links in the description area below is all of the Good Doc's extracurricular activity, Patreons, you name it. It's all there. Podcasts, books, all of it is in the link in the description area below. I wanted to have this conversation with you because this is a very open and honest conversation that we may have had in passing, but I think it's noteworthy to dedicate it specifically to its own video. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you haven't noticed, just because somebody comes out in a very aggressive way in explaining why you shouldn't date Filipinas and stuff like that, doesn't mean that their opinion is the know-all be-all. Just because somebody comes out very docile, very catering, doesn't mean that all Filipinas are the bee's knees, or all Filipinas are delightful and they don't have any negative aspects about them. And I hope that you give me the moment to explain what I mean from those particular aspects. I can remember, and I'm guilty of this. This is why I wanted to bring this as a topic of conversation. I'm very guilty of this. And I think there was only one person in my whole entire life catalog who honestly came out and made mention of this in my videos. And it's only when I was able to realize that in myself. If you look at my first few videos after I came back home, or forget that, when I started my YouTube video, when I started my YouTube channel, my first few videos on my YouTube channel, my first 5 or 10, everything that I was saying about Filipinas painted a very rosy picture. Okay, not gonna lie to you. You have to understand, at that particular moment in time, I was going through the withdrawal phase. I was going through, you know, missing being over there and missing being a part of the culture. And I'm back home in the US. I'm not bitter or mad. I'm spending time with family, but yet and still, I was in a withdrawal phase, and I don't want to call it a honeymoon phase because that's not really the best way to describe it. After you leave a place, it's kind of what it is, you know, before it actually becomes realistic, and we'll get into that later. But I was in a particular space and place wherein everything that I was saying was more or less in a positive light about the Philippines, or Filipinas, or dating women in the Philippines as well. And I have to admit, like I said, a lot of my videos were more positive. As I transitioned into, or as I gradually, not transitioned the channel, but as I gradually, you know, started to understand a path and a way in which I wanted to conduct my channel, I started to become a little bit more realistic in my approach in reference to what I was talking about in videos. I talked about the scams, and I talked about, you know, all of the things that you could potentially fall into, the potential traps that you could fall into when it comes to being in relationships with women abroad. More specifically, I talked more so about the Philippines. And I just wanted to throw those out there. And a lot of what I was saying, you could probably find in other people's videos as well. But what I'm noticing is lately, not from me, but from a couple of videos that I did watch, I'm noticing that the very aggressive nature of the person delivering the message has kind of forged an influence over the people watching the video. And all of a sudden, without ever having come to the Philippines, without ever dating a Filipino, without ever talking to one online or this, that, and the other, they have formed the conclusion that, oh, I shouldn't mess with Filipinas because Filipinas are bad, right? Or you have the guy who painted this rosy picture, the docile, how can I say this? The very committed, the very subservient, the very, caring, kind nature of the Filipina is like, well, damn, I got to get my ass over there with the quickness because, shoot, that's what they doing over there? That's where I need to be. So you have what I would like to refer to as two polar opposites, right? The know-all be-all, oh, the caterly men, they're awesome. Fuck them. They're scammers, cheaters, and all of this stuff and above. Then there's that nice little small area in the middle, that gray area that very few YouTubers probably talk about. Or if they do talk about it, they gloss over it real quick. like, I mean, so fast you don't even understand. So when you hear somebody such as myself or somebody else in their YouTube videos talk about, well, you know what? maybe it's in your best interest to watch a multitude of different videos rather than just taking somebody's particular point of view as the know-all be-all. You know, we're trying to do you a favor. And I remember this specifically. We were doing a live show, and I think that we literally stopped the show to basically state to the audience, look, our experiences dealing with Filipinas are gonna probably be a whole lot different than yours. I will say that again. My experiences, your experiences, two different experiences. I cannot simplify it any more than that. And when it starts to dawn on people that, look, man, just because this guy has had a hell of a bad experience, probably got taken for everything, probably built sorry store, probably bought the whole community, the barangay, you know, bought wifey and family or girlfriend and family, a house and the whole nine, and he ends up with nothing. Doesn't mean that every single time that you deal with a young lady like that, it's going to turn out to be the exact same way. It's just not supposed to be like that. Now, again, it does depend on the types of women that you're choosing to be with. And you got to learn to make better choices from time to time if you let it happen twice. You know the saying, ladies and gentlemen, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on moi. You let somebody get you twice, or you let somebody else finesse you twice, you might want to reevaluate your choosing decisions. But if you have this bad experience and you allow this one particular experience to ruin your whole experience in dealing with a whole group of women in general, what's going to tend to happen is you're going to alienate yourself from potentially good women. They're there. Here's the problem. Y'all let the bad apples influence you. And from the Good Doc, Dr. Mike TV statistics only, prepared by yours truly, signed off by the Good Doc, I would say that the bad ones in the Philippines only represent a very small portion, in and around 20% or less of the women in the country are what I would consider to be bad apples. Do I have any statistical data? Hell no. Y'all just gonna have to take my word for it. But I would say that the smaller group of bad apples ruin it for the larger group of the, you know, the good ones. And we talk about the low-hanging fruit too, man. Sometimes guys grab for what is the most convenient. Ooh, I love that live stream, man. That was a great live stream. I remember that from back in 2018. The low-hanging fruit, shit, if I could find it, I'm a peg that one so y'all could check that out. But that live stream or that video that we talked about, you know, going for the low-hanging fruit because it's easier and the more convenient one, and how you got these beautiful ones up top that are actually primed and ripe for the picking, but you would rather have the ones that are already down here at the bottom, hanging low like a pair of nuts that are about to fall or half rotten, you know, just hanging on a tree. You know, you go for the ones that are easiest ones to pluck. Not always your best bet, ladies and gentlemen, not always your best bet. But in hindsight, when I'm making this particular video, my thought prospect or my thought aspect comes from what I hear when I watch other YouTube videos about a guy being dumped or a guy being taken advantage of. It hurts, guys. It hurts like hell. I'll be the first to tell you. I'll be the last to tell you. It is something that is hard to get over with. You want to know how I know? Because it has happened to me. I've had the same experiences. I think it's funny. I think I have probably gone through just about, not all, every experience is in the dating aspect of being with a Filipina that you'll probably go through. Now, there will be some times when you're going to tell me some stories that I'm not going to be able to relate to, but yet still, I'll probably be able to, that I'm not going to be able to relate to, but 9 times out of 10, I'll probably be able to understand how that particular narrative came about. Even if I haven't been through it, I could probably understand where it's coming from. But what I don't want the audience that watches me or watches anybody else to do is I don't want you to take, because y'all do this. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. Take few words, like maybe a chunk of this, a chunk of that, and run with it. I don't want you to do that, because that's what I do when I'm doing when I'm educating myself. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll pick the shit that fits and you run with it. It's something that we do as human beings. It's a part of human nature. And when I was doing like my dissertation for my doctorate, what I would do is I would type in keywords and I would find articles that would fit what I was trying to fit into the paper, take it and run with it. And again, I was able to finesse my way through it. It worked, but in life, you can't do that. You can't pick and choose chunks of videos. You can't pick and choose something that somebody said in this part or the first minute and 30 seconds down to the last 4 minutes and 50 seconds or whatever. Pick and choose what works for you and then run with it. Sometimes you got to hear the whole narrative. You got to understand where everybody's coming from, because when you start to do that, you're going to basically fit a narrative to something that may or may not work. You're going to try to chunk and fit narratives that will not work, or narratives that you hope will work. And if it doesn't work, all you're going to do is go back and say, well, that YouTuber's a liar. That YouTuber's a scammer. That YouTuber told me this, and the opposite happened. No different than when people talk about the stock markets. Everybody has that disclaimer, man. Everybody know what the disclaimer is, man. Look, you should follow your own opinion. I'm not your financial advisor. Everything you should do, you should approach with caution, because again, investing in the stock market is a risk. And of course, when you invest in the stock market, you're not guaranteed to make money. Everybody knows the disclaimer. The same rules apply when it comes to videos where people are talking about the extreme negative and the extreme positive. You got to find the neutral, ladies and gentlemen. You got to be able to bring that positive and negative together and try to find a balance between the two. Understand where your skepticism needs to lie in reference to particular things that women might try to use to finesse you. Not saying that they will, but they might try to use to finesse you. Then on the flip side, give yourself an open opportunity to actually put yourself in a position to have a fulfilling relationship with somebody else, if you choose to. Okay, it's only if you choose to do. All right, you can't go into every situation thinking that chick's going to screw you over. You can't go into every situation thinking that chick is not going to screw you over. You got to give yourself a fighting chance, but you also got to, give yourself, you got to be on your P's and Q's. I mean, you got to be able to read between the small lines. You dig? You got to be able to, put two and two together. I think the best method in doing that is watching, peeping game, but keeping quiet. See, a lot of guys like to blow up when they see certain things happening in the moment. Like if some chick is asking you for money, look at you, y'all scammers, look, you try to take all my money and shit, blah, blah, blah. You want to blow up because you heard somebody else say that that's how it starts, right? You heard somebody else say, well, that's kind of how it starts. It starts with a little bit of borrowing, and then a little bit of borrowing, and then it becomes a lot of borrowing, and then next thing you know, she's taking you for everything that you came with in the Philippines, right? Not always true. Sometimes a couple $100 pesos ain't gonna hurt the pocketbook. It ain't gonna kill your pockets. So if she asks if that's what it takes for a person to show their true colors, I'm willing to sacrifice it. To be honest with you, a lot of people won't agree with this, and I understand this is the part of the video that some people may or may disagree with, but if for me to figure out a person's true character, if I have to lose a little bit to find out if a person is legit and real, I'll be willing to do that. Female or just a random dude in life that I might meet in order that somebody trying to infiltrate the circle. Either way, if that's what it takes for me to know somebody's true nature, I don't mind it. A couple $100 pesos, man, I'll drop a dub, $20 or something like that if that's what it takes. And we'll see how they rock from there. If they come back with that same handout shit that you kind of know, you might want to scale back and tell them you ain't got it. A wise man once said, man, if you want to know a Filipino's true nature, and I'm just throwing this little nugget in just to drop the video off and drop the mic and walk away. But a wise man once said, I can't tell you who that wise man is because I heard it a couple times. If you ever want to know how a Filipino truly feels about you, this should be its own video. If you ever want to know how a Filipino feels about you, tell them no, or stop the money flow for whatever reason it may be. Stop the money flow. See how they react when you're no longer giving them something. If they still in it to win it, think of her from a long-term perspective. You might be like, well, damn, she ain't tripping. She ain't mad. Because what I've learned about Filipinos, guys, it's hard for them to really hold back their true feelings about shit. If you ain't giving them what they need and they need it in the moment, they'll go somewhere where they can find it, period. If that's really what it's all about. Of course, if it's all about the come up in the game, they'll find a way to get it, right, from somebody else. Okay, so note that. If you ain't giving it to them, they'll find somebody who will. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to leave it on that note. You have been an awesome crowd. I appreciate y'all coming through, showing love to the Good Doc. With that being said, the Good Doc is officially out. At least nako paalam, which means I'm about to go now. Bye-bye. As always, love you guys. Sincerely do. Mahal kita. Mabuhay. Peace.